Hi, welcome. And today we're going to talk about money. Topic everybody may be happy to talk about, sad to talk about, it doesn't matter. Money is in all of our lives pretty much most of the time, whether it's right up front or in the background. So why talk about money? Well, there's a couple of reasons. First of all, I want to expose some of really the spiritual underpinnings, the basis for money, and why that's important. Now, most people want more money. Of course, that's fine. More money brings more opportunity, more experiences, more options, more choices in life, and it generally allows us to lead a higher level of life, both from a lifestyle perspective, but also from a consciousness perspective. And we'll talk about that too, and why that's important and how to get that. But first, I want to talk a little bit about money, what it is, what it isn't, and ask you some questions for you to ponder. You don't need to reply out loud, but it's important to establish where you're at in relationship to money so that you can have a conscious relationship with money. Why is this important? Because money has certain properties, it has language, it has dynamics and ways of being in the world. And by getting into a healthy, profound, creative relationship with money, there's a good chance you'll have a better facility, more mastery. If you want more money or less money, you may find some ease in that. And even more importantly than just the mundane or physical aspects of money and having money in our lives, which is super important, there's also the opportunity for a higher level of relationship to money and a higher level of how money can serve us in our lives. So let's get started. So open questions, but is money good or is money bad? Is money abundant or is it limited and hard to get? Is money evil or is it inspired? Where does this thing called money come from? Is it just come from growing on trees? So I've heard it hasn't, but we'll talk about that too. Or is it something that's divinely inspired, that was created? We actually, as human beings, created money. It's something that we've developed and pursued since people have been around trading shells or cattle or salt or shekels or dinar or dollars or whatever. So this money, it's an important thing. So the questions that I would ask you to ponder outside of those important general questions are specific to you. And again, this is so you can develop a more profound relationship with money so that it serves you instead of you perhaps being a victim of it or having to serve it in ways that don't gel with your true purpose. So what about the amount of money in your life? Are you happy with that? Do you feel like you've got just the right amount? Or maybe you have too much money? Or maybe you have too little, you'd like more. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about the amount of money in your life? And is that something you'd like to change? And with that, how do you feel about that? Do you feel powerless to change whether you want more money or less money? Or, do you feel empowered with it? Do you feel like you have mastery and control over the amount of money in your life? What do you feel about your knowledge of money? Do you know where it came from, how it evolved, what the purpose of money is, how it's created, how it's manifested, how it travels, what are the laws and dynamics around money? Do you feel like you're well-versed and educated and have some mastery, or is it something that you just don't think about, don't want to think about, or is it something you'd like to know more about? Now, there's no good or bad answers here, and it's okay to say I don't know. But what I'm offering is access to you developing an awareness of your current relationship with money. And why that's important is so that you can actually have the relationship that you want with money. Now, that may sound a little strange. If it's a new concept, that's fine. Because we have a relationship with everything in our lives. We have a relationship with people, with ourselves, with our money, and with the things in our life. And the possibility as human beings is that we have the choice to change those relationships or keep them the same. But first, we have to be aware of the relationships, and we have to be aware of what that relationship is, the fact that we have a relationship, and how to change them if we choose to. So let's dig in a little bit deeper. So general questions for you about how you feel about money, the amount of money, what you know about it, what you don't know about it, how you feel about that. But let's ask some specific questions about your beliefs in money. Now, my belief in money came largely from my parents and from school and from media and advertising, and later on from commerce and businesses, and my experience of earning money and saving money and investing money and spending money and keeping money and losing money and all of it. So it's all there. It's a pretty complex package. And this all forms our belief around money. Now, my early beliefs around money, again, were largely crafted by what I heard as a child, like money doesn't grow on trees. Money's dirty, money's evil. And then in certain religious texts, it says it's easier for a rich person to get through a camel to get through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to get to heaven. My parents would tell me, oh, we can't afford that. Or what do you think, we're made of money? So there were largely the beliefs and the messaging I got as a young person were negative and about scarcity and lack. Now, I realize that's not everybody's experience, but after checking with lots and lots of people around the world, that's pretty common, that the beliefs of the parents are that there's a lack of money and there's scarcity. And we adopt those because we're young, we look at our parents as authority figures. And that carries through into our commerce, and it carries through with the media and with the various places we learn about money, for the most part. Now, that's not all true, because there are people who believe that money is something that there is an abundance of, that it is something that we can use, that it's a blessing, it's inspired. It's love made manifest. It's the finger of God manifest in the world. It's a powerful, powerful thing that's a tool. It's the best tool that we've ever invented for ourselves. So there are different beliefs possible about money. And the reason it's important to explore this is because once you know what your beliefs are, and maybe a little bit about your history about money and your feelings about that, then it's possible to actually choose whether those beliefs, those feelings, that history, that interpretation of history serves you. What I mean by that is, if let's say you're like a lot of people and your main thinking is money, yeah, I need more. I don't have enough. My lifestyle is determined by the lack of money or the amount of money I have. My options are limited to the amount of money I have. My choices are limited by the amount of money I have, and I have a lack. And if I had more, life would be better. So if you find yourself there, then wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to have an alternative relationship, to have a different set of beliefs, a different set of tools, and a different way of being around money? Now, that may sound fantastic and out of the world and like, yeah, right. How do I do that? Well, I want to assure you that it's not only possible, but it's doable. It's doable. I've done it personally. I've helped hundreds, maybe thousands of people do this, to shift their relationship, to evolve their relationship, to grow their relationship with money into something that gives them joy and satisfaction and facilitates their unfoldment as a human being. So it is an exciting possibility if you've never considered it. I encourage you to sit with this for a little while and just let it bubble and see if that makes sense, or I should say, if it makes an opportunity for a better way forward for you. It may not make sense, but I want to assure you that it actually is possible and it can be done, and that you, unless you're extremely rare, you can do this too. So let's move on a little bit and let's take another cut at this. And I want to step back a little bit and take a bigger cut, a deeper cut, if you will. So let's talk about why you want money, why you need money. What is money for? And what is the purpose of money in your life? And of course, you could even back up a little bit further and say, what is the purpose of your life? And so I'm going to start with that. That may be a little bit challenging and deep. Maybe we haven't all answered that question to our full satisfaction. But I'll just throw it out there. If the purpose of our life is a further unfoldment of our spiritual and personal potential. If we're here to grow, to blossom, like a tree blossoms and has maybe flowers and fruit, or grows and has more branches, or gets richer, or more evolved, if that is in fact consistent across life, which it is, then our purpose, I will submit, is for us to grow and to mature and develop into more profound and more complex and actually more beautiful beings, both on a physical level and a circumstance level, a lifestyle level, but also a spiritual level. So what is the purpose of money in this? After all, we invented money. It didn't just show up. It doesn't, it's not a, quote, natural phenomenon, although it is natural for us to have it. We evolved money as a tool and as a way of storing our life energy and a way of moving our life energy across time, meaning I can create money, I can create wealth today by doing some work or providing value. I can store that wealth, my life energy, in my money, and I can move it across time. I can hold on to that money till tomorrow or until next year or leave it for the next generation. I can move that stored energy, that stored product of my life across time. And I can also move it across space. What I mean by that is I can send it to you. I can transact business with it. I can buy something with it. I can give it away. I could burn it. I can move it across space and time. So money becomes it's not abstract, but it's a symbolic as well as a practical way to take our lives, take a portion of our lives and encapsulate it, if we will, or distill it or compress it down into this thing we call money, and then use it to either further our lives. We can invest it in our education or ourselves. We can invest it in tools or businesses. We can invest it in other people. We can invest it in giving our lives a deeper meaning. We can invest it for our future. Perhaps if we don't want to continue to do this productive work, we can create enough wealth that begins to sustain us later. There's a lot of good uses for money. I think everybody'd agree with that. And yet, for most of us, money, for me, at one point was a burden. The lack of money was a huge burden. It was a limitation. It was a suppression, a spiritual suppression, an emotional suppression. I felt less than. I didn't have the money that I wanted and needed and felt I deserved. I looked at other people and saw they had more. And so there was a complex psychological and emotional and physical and a spiritual implication of holding the belief that I didn't have enough money, and that perhaps for me, money was not easily available. I worked. I did everything I knew. I couldn't generate more money. I felt frustrated. I felt limited. I felt it wasn't fair. I felt a lot of complex things that, again, they were physical limitations. They were circumstantial limitations. They were mental, emotional, spiritual limitations. Money was not my friend. Okay. Money it wasn't the enemy, but it wasn't exactly my ally either, because I felt, well, we all have to have money. I have to have money. No, I got to work for it. And so what's this thing? It's not, it was like a kind of, I was oppressed. I was a victim of money, or the lack of money, to be more specific. And that did not, in a kind of not abstract, but in a roundabout way, that did further my development as a human being, as an emotional being, as a spiritual being. It did further that because it created a tension or an edge or a rough spot that I needed to get over. Okay, I needed to get over. Now, I didn't always embrace getting over it. And I'm sure most of us don't always, all the time, embrace that. However, what I know is if I get a splinter in my finger and it starts to fester, I'm going to take action. I'm going to get it out. It got my attention and I got to do something about it. And the lack of money and feeling victimized and feeling at effect rather than a cause was like a splinter. It was something I had to deal with. So it forced my development. It forced me to do the things that we just went through of examining what is money? How do I feel about money? How do I feel about the amount of money? How do I feel about my knowledge of money? Do I feel mastery? Do I feel victimhood? What is my relationship to money? What are my beliefs? What is my history? How do I feel about money? And that's why I'm asking these questions is hopefully for you to begin this journey or advance your place on this journey of your relationship with money. And so it is important to understand that there is a purpose to money in the world and in our lives. And when we step back again, and we look at what is the purpose of our life, that's a big question, but it's an important question. And I don't know that I'll ever have the full answer, but along the way, there are clues. The purpose of my life is to be a more self-expressed, a more evolved, a more developed human being, to be more profound and more at ease with myself and more of a contribution to myself and others, to be more generative, to generate good things in the world, and to learn and understand how to share those and how to husband those and how to create value for myself and the world at large. Okay, so that's a piece of my journey, and each of us have our own. So then I'm going to invite you, if you can relate to that, or you have your own purpose statement, that you can begin to see how money specifically interacts with that, how money influences this, how money can promote and move this forward, how money, the lack of money or feeling victimized by money, can retard that or slow it down or be an obstacle, or how that feeling that you're not happy with can be a catapult to move you into greater abundance, greater acceptance, greater joy and fulfillment. Okay, so there is a way to do this, and the first way, as with most big challenges in life, is to acknowledge where we are, to acknowledge these things. Yeah, I have a history, and here's a piece of it. I don't need to know all of it. Yeah, I have feelings about money, and here's the top level ones. Here's the ones that are obvious. Yeah, my relationship to money been non-existent, or I have this negative or a positive relationship. To understand where we're starting on this journey of a profound generative relationship with money. And then to understand what money is. What is money? We talked a little bit about that, and we can go into greater detail later and other formats. But money is a vehicle. It's a tool, among other things, to help us in our development and to provide access, again, a way to move our energy, to condense and gather our energy and help us move it across time and space, to allow us to measure our energy, because money is a measurement. Like, I have this much, and it requires that much, and here's my progress or my lack of progress, or in comparison to other people or circumstances or situation. It allows me to measure my development across time, from before to now to the future. It's also a way to fractionalize or divide my worth. So I can take a portion of my accumulated earnings or my accumulated life energy and deploy certain parts of it, and maybe save or invest other parts, or spend or gift other parts. It allows me to more finitely or more precisely measure and control and actualize my life energy. Now, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about another level of purpose for money, and another level of relationship. So what we've covered so far is good stuff. It's important stuff. But I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about the spiritual basis of money and wealth, and how money is a component of wealth, and how our spiritual relationship with money and wealth, and our spiritual unfolding and development with wealth and money is important, and how we can facilitate that by upgrading or up-leveling our relationship to money. So let's look at money as a spiritual, I don't want to say an entity, but the spiritual basis of money. Now, it's interesting because money has been tied with spiritual development and spiritual reality since the very, very beginning, before recorded history. As a matter of fact, some of the very first forms of money have been all kinds of things, from cattle to shells to feathers and beads. But the first form of what we would call maybe a permanent money, because those all cattle die, beads get broken. some of the first forms of money that we still acknowledge were gold and silver. Now, why would that be important when we're talking about spiritual basis of wealth? Well, simply because gold and silver are noble in the chart of a periodic chart of the materials of the universe, periodic chart of the atoms, and because gold and silver have some unique properties. First of all, they shine, they appear to shine, right? If you've ever held real gold in your hand or real silver, it has a luster that dirt or wood or iron or other minerals and other materials don't. And when it's highly polished, it actually almost looks like it's giving off light. It has brilliance. And early people discovered this, and they were attracted to this, and they felt there might be some spiritual component to this that's different than the other things in life. And there it is. So they polished it up, and it became a symbol for a higher power, right? So it became used in temples and rituals and religious ceremonies, and gold and silver became, they weren't sacred objects in themselves necessarily, although some people hold them that way, but they're symbols of a higher nobility of spirit or a higher level of existence that we call spiritual. It goes beyond just the physical, but these are bridge elements. They sort of transition between the physical and the spiritual, which is not physical. So they provide a conduit for that, or a symbol of a pathway for that energy. So money, wealth, has a long, a very deep and varied history. We're not going to go into all the history of money, but let's just say, take the early money was associated with precious metals, and it still is. A lot of parts of the world, that's a way to preserve wealth. And we can fast forward to today, where money has gone through paper and credit cards, and now it's digital and this and that. However, when we look at the physical money, and I want to dwell on that right now because it's not as abstract, in certain countries that even is written right on the money, "In God we trust." And there's a reason for this. There's some sacred sayings and writings, give unto Caesar what's Caesar, give unto God what's God. The two faces of a coin might have an inspirational message and then a physical message, or a rendition or a symbol. And so money has long been associated with the spiritual nature of human beings. And as a matter of fact, as we discussed earlier, it allows me to take my physical manifestation and compress it into money and move it across time and move it across space. And this is, some people might have thought that's magical, and in a certain way it is. But it's beyond physical. It's beyond the physical. So we could say it's almost metaphysical, or it is a bridge, again, on an individual level between our higher nature and our physical nature. Now, so if we've established that money has a role in our spiritual unfolding, we can look even a little bit deeper at the challenges of having a profound relationship with money. I mentioned earlier that the lack of money, for me, was a huge thing. And I was mostly unaware of it. I was mostly aware of the pain of it and the struggle of it and the unfairness or whatever all that was. But I was having an emotional and a mental and really a spiritual crisis about this, because I felt, well, I've got to have money, but it's unfair that I have to work for it, and I never have enough. And, people are trying to take mine, and, I've got all these beliefs about money and, how it's evil, or, people, just all this jumble of stuff. And it wasn't fun. It wasn't pleasant. But again, it did provoke me into developing a more profound understanding and a relationship with money. And that furthered my spiritual evolution. And maybe that calls to you, maybe it doesn't. But if it does, I want to encourage you to consider additional ways that money has worked for me and could work for you. In other words, because my spiritual purpose for being here, my life purpose, if you will, for being here, is to fully bloom or blossom or grow into the best human being I can be, the best me I can be, then money allows me to do what I'm called to do, as opposed to just what I'm forced to do. So as a younger person, I had low skills and low knowledge and low experience. And I did everything from working, pumping petrol, gasoline, to clerking as a stockist in a store, to working in factories, to working construction, and just a whole bunch of jobs, like low skill, low wage jobs. Of course, they were interesting maybe for a little while, some as little as a couple hours or a day. And so I felt I had to work. But what I discovered along the way was that there's more to life than just working a job I didn't like. And there's more to life than making money. Now, here's the spiritual bridge, or the life development bridge. Once I discovered that I enjoyed doing certain things more than other things, and I thought, well, that's what I want to do. But, there's no job for being an adventurous musician traveling around the world in your backpack. But, however, guess what? There is. And, other things I enjoyed were, climbing, hiking. There's no jobs for that. Well, turns out there are. Other things I enjoyed were, the point here is that once I started living into my dream, my passion, what I enjoyed, what I feel like I came here to do, and my relationship with money shifted and was right, then I suddenly realized, oh, I can monetize my activities. I can monetize my unfolding. I can monetize my human and further development. And I can do this in a way that's joyous and easy because I love doing it. And I'm skilled at it. I'm good at it because it's not work. I do it anyway. And I've discovered ways to identify and pursue and cultivate the things that I feel feed me on a deeper level. And again, money is that magical bridge, or a profound bridge that allows us, if we're clear enough, if we're bold enough, if we're convinced and committed enough, to actually live our dreams and monetize them in a way that we can create riches beyond what we need. We can create true abundance in our lives, and not just abundance of money, but an abundance of everything that constructs true wealth. And different people may have different thoughts about that, but for me, it's a combination of right relationship with myself and with others. It's a combination of great health, radiant health. It's a combination of freedom, having the freedom to do what I need to do, when I need to do it, where I need to do it, with who I need to do it. It's having the liberty or the freedom to work or not work. And of course, it's having money so that all this is facilitated, and then the time to enjoy it. And there's more. But the point is wealth, true wealth, developmental wealth, life wealth, spiritual wealth, whatever you want to call it, has to have money, but money's not all of it. And this is where money is the magic elixir or the solvent or the salve that can help facilitate these other aspects of true wealth. So let's back up a little bit and talk about our relationship to money, and through money to our wealth, our true wealth, our development, our unfoldment. And let's talk about the power that we actually have. I mentioned earlier that I felt like I was a victim. I had low knowledge, and I had low skills, and I had low belief around the reality that I could create abundance, or that I could actually have a relationship, or that I had a relationship, or that I could actually craft a relationship with money and wealth. And so the important thing is, if you can relate to that, that part of the journey, and maybe you're already there, or you're just beginning, to understand that we do have a choice in our relationship. Now, when I was in a reaction or a victim of all that, I didn't have a conscious choice, but I had a choice. And as this unfolded more, as I became more aware and more knowledgeable and more skilled, as I developed more mastery, I understood that it is a choice, and that I can choose whatever I want. And that's not saying it's automatic or easy with the outcome, but I can choose the relationship I want, and then I can systemically or systematically work toward manifesting that relationship in a way that actually ensures that it will happen. When I align myself with what I love, with who I am, with what I came here to do, with what I believe and feel, and my spiritual and developmental destiny as I see it, then it does happen. And it can happen. And it can happen for anyone. I'm convinced of it. And so it's about, again, doing an inventory of where I'm at, about examining this and see what serves me and what doesn't, about educating myself about how this all works, and to the level that I need to, and educating myself as to the choices and the options. If I don't like where I'm at in this spot, I can choose something else. And then actually making a choice. Now, I want to wrap this up by just acknowledging that I'm in what I'll call it a spiritual battle. You can call it whatever you want, but it's a personal as well as a community and a societal level struggle, challenge, battle, whatever you want to call it. And that, for me, it's a matter of being born into this life, set of circumstances, regardless of what they are, a set of inculcated beliefs, learned beliefs, behaviors, understandings, and the challenge, I'll call it a challenge, is to transcend that, or to use those to further develop myself and my life and my destiny. And so money initially can serve for me a purpose of creating enough angst or discomfort to cause me to examine and educate and learn about this thing, and then make some choices, and then move forward a little bit, fall back, struggle, fail, struggle, win, that journey, to then begin to emerge into my fullness. And by no means am I implying that I've got this thing done, because it's an ongoing thing. That's the beauty of it. But this battle or this challenge or this developmental process, whatever you want to call it, is a spiritual battle, because I'm aware that I have a spiritual nature in a physical world. And if I just basically live out of the physical world around money, I possibly would not have developed any mastery. I might still be at a factor, a struggle, or a victim of the lack of money. So by operating on these multiple levels, the physical level, the material level, the personality level, the emotional level, the mental level, the spiritual level, by integrating these and moving into a healthy and dynamic and fulfilling relationship with this thing called money, and through money into wealth, I'm able to have a better life. I'm able to contribute to my well-being and my unfoldment. And I'm able to contribute to others' well-being and unfoldment. And through that to communities, and through that to the world. So I'm going to invite you to consider this for yourself. Maybe you're not ready to take on the world at this point, but to consider it for yourself and those around you and your family and community, and perhaps the world, to begin this journey and to share whatever level you're on. Everybody's either less developed or more developed. Some people might be right where you at, but to share this process, share these tools and these techniques and these understandings and this knowledge with people in your life and the people around you and the people in the world. And ultimately, I'm clear that by accepting this, that I and we and you can move into an acceptance of the profound gift that money is in our lives, and acceptance of the grace that has money in our lives, and the gratitude for the money that we have and what money brings us. And of course, the love and the abundance that are our birthright. So I want to thank you for your attention, thank you for your listening, and thank you for your partnership in this great, great adventure called life. So may you have all the success that you deserve. Thanks.